This might be an extension to another video, it might not be, I don't know, but we might add it halfway through. I have been asked in the comments about the top hat from the gearbox end, how this one comes apart. In here there's a circlip there and a cap. There's an O-ring inside that as well, because remember in the previous video the shaft runs out that way. So that cap is to stop every time you pick the mower up, it would do that. It's to stop the shaft working its way out, because otherwise you'll lose drive. There's two bearings in there with a circlip in the middle, and then a circlip on the end with shims behind it. Now when I took this one apart, this was, you know, you could move it around, it was ridiculous. So that's all new bearings and shimmed up, new O-rings and everything in there. And then in the end piece here, I don't know where it's oh, here we go. Even in the packet, look. You got this one there that will fit in like that. And then obviously the seal with the spring towards the oil will go in there. So that's the base piece. And then this top part comes, there is a roll pin goes in there, and if you're lucky that might come off, but I highly doubt it. There are grease nipples for both the yokes. If you can't get that one off there, it's not a problem, as you can undo that nut, take this gear off, and then I'm fairly sure, I can't remember which way you press it out. It will come apart along there, because there's like a double race roller bearing in the middle. That one was going bad on this one because it completely fell apart when I took it to bits, but yeah, that's in there. Obviously you've got your shims that sit on there, and then if you're taking it apart, you've got to line up, you can see in there, you've got to line up the bottom plate with where the screws go in, so they'll sit down in there like that and go right the way through to those, but you just got to line them up with the two recesses there. And then have I got, oh no, I don't have that. The disc sits on there and you've got different adjustments on it. But then there's obviously this sits inside the top hat, which is what the initial problem was, is all these bolts sheared off. So the top hat was wedged itself in underneath. Getting the actual deck off the mower, I'm fairly sure there is no roll pin in there. There wasn't on this one anyway. So you just undo the 6 or 8 bolts each end of the bed, and then just drop it down. This one was fairly easy. Obviously the bigger the mower is, the more difficult it's going to be, so it's one thing to watch. This is full of oil instead of grease, so that is filled with, I think it's that oil, I'm fairly sure. That oil there. I do have a bit of paper somewhere. Yes. Got this from a dealer, they printed it out, there you go. 91. Yeah. GW85 140, which is that. And that is, how many litres is it? 0.45 of a litre in there. It won't need much. But yeah, that's that section. It's a bit different to those sections, but I've already been through that mid-bed section. I have all the parts now, so hopefully I can start putting this all back together. Just ignore that lot. I got a bit keen at a farm sale. I got these two at that farm sale as well, and there's another flatter, longer one. Oh yeah, I just went a bit mental. But yes, put it all back together now. So there, 450 ml, which I believe is 0.45 litres, and that seems about the right amount. What I did forget to mention is there is an O-ring sits in there. So there is a groove which that sits in, and then a seal sits inside it. And then we can put the oil in, bolt the top bit on, and that will be that bit done finally. So that's that back together. All 4 bolts are in there, tightened down. I did put a little bit of sealant in the shims and that, but I don't think they come from the factory with sealant in them. The disc I was on about earlier is here, and that sits over that like that, and then you do have, obviously you can just see a bolt hole there. Obviously you've got adjustment on each of them to just make sure it's all lined up right across the bed. Obviously I'm not going to bother putting that on until the bed is together, so then I can set all of them. Obviously this needs new blades, which I have. That one's fairly new. I don't know what they did with it. They must have hit something, or no, I don't know, but yeah. And then the top hat will sit on there. You've got to go in through the top of the top hat to get there, and then that drives in there. And then on the bottom of the mower, or the bottom of the top, then that makes sense. You have these 2 pieces. That bolts up into the mower, and then that one will sit over it like that. So you obviously leave that one off, and then that hole there takes the drive shaft through, so you can line it up. So that will sit here, roughly in there, so obviously you can get your hand in and do that without, you know, in theory anyway. I shall find out eventually, because I'll be putting it back together soon, hopefully. But yeah, that's that back in one piece. Right, so this is what kind of an exploded view of it will look like. So you've got the main, that holds it all together, that's like the spine of it, which will go in through the back, right the way through the lot of them. They'll all be in line. And then the drive shaft will go in the front there, right the way through the middle. They are, you can have up to 3 drive shafts in these mower beds. It depends obviously what width mower you have, whereas this is 2.4 I think it is, so it's got 2. And that just takes a bit of shock, and twist out of it all, and that's the main reason for losing drive, is if the shaft pops out. Yeah, that's what it looks like. The next thing I'll have to do is make sure these, because if you remember in a previous video we set them up to spin certain ways, so this end one will come inwards, that one will go outwards, that one will go inwards, that one will go that way, that one will go that way, and then that one will go that way. So they're always going either away from or towards each other. They're never going the same direction, because if that happens, yeah, it basically will just explode. So need to set that up. Yeah, and then we'll come back. The one thing you need to remember when putting it back together is you do have these, I don't know what you call them, shims or spacers. There's one that sit in the end there, like they help locate it in the recess in there. So you've got to remember to put those back together. Otherwise, because obviously if you were to hit, say, a stone with that, it would just twist up and then put all the pressure on your drive shaft, which won't be good. You want to have that really shiny and well greased when you put everything back on it, because otherwise it'd be a nightmare having it back apart if you do have to. Same with the drive shaft. Won't hurt to clean that off and chuck a load of grease on it. It will just make it easier putting it together and taking it apart again if you need to. There's obviously a big nut on the end of that. There'd be the, I don't know what you call it, it'd be the, just the end plate that holds it on, which actually bolts it to the bed, or the frame of the mower then. So yeah, that's that, and I'll start putting that back together. There we go. That's that all in one piece. Obviously, it's not done up yet because you need those end pieces on there. And the problem with these at the minute is there's tiny little cracks there, and then another one there. Goes to about there. I will have to wallow that out with a grinder and re-weld those. But yeah, this is effectively what it looks like when it's in one piece. Now you can see what I mean by you have to get it all in, get them all going the right way. I don't know if you can see that. But if you turn this one inwards, that one has to come inwards, that one will go outwards, that one will go inwards, outwards, inwards, and then, you know, if you had the 320, which is the 10-foot version of this mower, it'd be exactly the same all the way along. You just got to make sure that one's going that way and the end one is coming inwards, and then from there just opposites. But it went together way easier having wire wheeled off that shaft and the two drive shafts. Everything just slid right together. Remembering to put these in the ends of those because it's wallowed out one side, or chamfered. That has got to be facing that way, so that when you put the drive shaft through it, sort of locates it easier in the hole. But yeah, that's that in one piece. I'll have to do those end pieces and then we can clamp it in, because yeah, obviously you'd have to clamp it in. This nut here has got to be done up to, I think it's 1,000 Newton meters, which if you have a Milwaukee Ugga Dugga gun, which it's several Ugga Duggas, or a scaffold tube to do it up. But yeah, that's what it looks like. It's coming together. Quite pleased with that. So there we go. That's that back in one piece. It's probably a couple days later on the video, but it's probably in the same video. There you go. That's roughly what it should look like. As for the timing, I'll see if I can zoom out here a minute. No, not zooming in. Yeah, hang on. There, we've got super wide lens now. Right, so that one goes. Then they all miss each other. Down the far end, there will be a tiny bit out, just because I think it's either between there or those two in that one. The two shafts joined together in the gear that's in the front of the bed, and if the hexagon slot in the gear is a bit worn out, you will have a little bit of movement, but I'm fairly sure as long as they're missing like this anyway, they should be fine. So they've all got grease in them. It's all timed up. Obviously I'll have to take all the discs off again to put the skids on. I'm debating whether to do that on the mower or not, actually, but yeah, that's that, all timed up, ready to go.